The lunchroom was buzzing with chatter, and everyone's eyes were on her, the simple, quiet woman who just started working at the company. She wore plain clothes, spoke softly, and moved without demanding attention. A few employees whispered behind her back, laughing at how out of place she seemed among the high-powered executives. They didn't know her. They didn't realize just how wrong they were. Minutes later, the room fell completely silent. The same people who laughed were now frozen in shock. She wasn't just an ordinary employee, she was the CEO's wife. The same woman they had mocked, ignored, and underestimated had the power to change their fates in an instant. And she didn't hesitate. Decisions were being made, names were being called, and in moments, lives would shift in ways no one saw coming. No one expected such a twist. And the air was thick with tension as the employees waited, unsure who would be next. The quiet woman's calm smile hid a sharp mind and a strong will, and the CEO's trust in her meant she could act without warning. What happened next would leave everyone stunned, and the consequences would ripple through the office in ways no one could imagine. The question now, who would be the first to face her judgment? No one in the office really knew her story. She had joined quietly, taking a low-profile position, always polite, always helpful, never drawing attention. But behind those gentle eyes was a woman who had faced her own battles, long days, managing a household, late nights learning the ins and outs of business strategy from her husband, the CEO. She wasn't just lucky. She was prepared, patient, and strategic. The employees who had laughed earlier had no idea that every casual comment, every underestimation, only strengthened her resolve. She had watched, silently, as they flaunted their arrogance, thinking the company was theirs to control. Little did they know, she understood the gears of this business, as well as her husband did, and she had been waiting for the right moment to prove it. Her presence in the office was more than symbolic, it was a test. Who respected others, and who let pride cloud their judgment? Who worked for the company, and who thought it belonged to them? With every step she took toward the boardroom, whispers spread, and a tension thicker than any air conditioning filled the space. Everyone wondered, would she confront them gently, or would she make them regret every careless word they had spoken? The room held its breath, waiting for the first move. The tension in the office was almost unbearable as she approached the conference room. Her steps measured, her calm demeanor hiding the storm inside. Employees shifted in their seats, exchanging uneasy glances. Some whispered apologies under their breath, others fidgeted, unsure if they should stand or stay seated. No one wanted to be the first to meet her gaze, yet all eyes were drawn to her. From one corner, a junior manager tried to rationalize the situation, thinking maybe this was just a misunderstanding. Meanwhile, the team leader who had mocked her earlier clenched his fists under the table, realizing too late that pride had blinded him. Across the room, a quiet intern who had always respected her now felt a mix of awe and anxiety. Unsure how the unfolding scene would affect the company's hierarchy, even the CEO, watching discreetly from behind his office door, felt the tension ripple across the room. He knew his wife's approach was deliberate. She had studied the dynamics, understood the power plays, and now she had the authority to act. Every whispered insult, every careless remark, had become fuel for her. As she reached the front, she paused, looking around with that serene expression that made everyone question their own actions. Then, with a slight smile, she began to speak, but the words were carefully chosen, each one a test, each one carrying consequences no one could predict. The question hung in the air: who would survive her scrutiny, and who would be exposed first? A heavy silence filled the room as she spoke, her voice calm but carrying an unmistakable authority. Every word was measured, each sentence designed to make them squirm just enough to feel the weight of their earlier arrogance. Eyes darted nervously between her and each other, and for the first time, they realized this wasn't just about a title, it was about respect, accountability, and truth. The junior manager tried to interject, fumbling over his words, but she raised a hand, stopping him mid-sentence. "I hope everyone understands the value of honesty here," she said softly, yet the room felt the force behind it. Behind her gentle tone was a sharp awareness of every interaction, every slight, every careless remark. She had observed everything, and now, the moment of reckoning was near. From the corner, the intern held his breath, sensing that this was no ordinary office confrontation. Even seasoned employees felt their stomachs knot, knowing that the next few moments could change their positions, reputations, and careers. Outside the conference room, the CEO watched silently, knowing his wife's judgment would not just punish, but teach Hund that her choice would leave a lasting impression on the company. She took a step closer to the center of the room, her eyes meeting those of the employees who had mocked her. Every heartbeat seemed louder than the last, every whisper of movement amplified. The tension was unbearable. Everyone knew the first decision, the first name she called, would set off a chain reaction that none could predict. The room waited, breathless, on the edge of revelation. Just as everyone braced for her next words, the door swung open, and another figure stepped into the room, a senior executive no one expected to see. Whispers rippled through the office. He was known for being untouchable, the kind of person who could make or break careers with a single decision. Yet here he was, standing quietly behind her, his expression unreadable. She didn't flinch. Instead, she gestured subtly, acknowledging his presence as if it had been part of her plan all along. The employees' unease grew. The balance of power had shifted in an instant. This wasn't just about a few careless remarks anymore. It was about the hidden alliances, the secret dynamics that no one had noticed before. The intern glanced at the manager who had mocked her earlier, seeing fear in his eyes for the first time. Even the CEO, usually calm and composed, felt a flicker of tension. The room was no longer just an office. It was a battlefield of pride, ambition, and secrets waiting to be revealed. She took a slow step forward, the executive following her silently, and the room held its collective breath. It was clear that her judgment wouldn't just correct mistakes, it would expose hidden truths. In that charged silence, everyone realized one thing: no one in the office was safe. And the next few minutes would change everything they thought they knew. The question lingered in every mind: what secret was about to be revealed, and who would be the first to fall? She finally spoke, her voice steady but carrying an unmistakable edge. "It seems some of you have forgotten the values this company stands for," she said, her eyes scanning the room. "Mocking others, underestimating colleagues, thinking status makes you untouchable, it ends. Today," gasps filled the room as she pointed to the manager who had laughed at her earlier. "You will take a leave of absence until we reassess your conduct." And as for those who encouraged him, she didn't even need to name them. The fear in their eyes said enough. Employees shifted uncomfortably, realizing the consequences of their arrogance. The quiet woman they had mocked was now in full command, and her decisions carried the weight of the CEO's trust. Just when the tension seemed to peak, the senior executive stepped forward. "She's not just enforcing discipline," he said, nodding to her. "She's been leading a new project behind the scenes, one that will redefine how we operate, and everyone here will either be part of it or step aside." The room fell silent again, this time with awe. The woman who had appeared simple, timid, and unnoticed had not only revealed hidden truths, but also held the keys to the company's future. As the employees processed this, she offered a small, confident smile. Then, in a final twist, she added softly, almost to herself, "And some of you might be surprised to know I've been here longer than even the CEO realized." The room froze. If the people thought they knew her before, everything had just changed. The office atmosphere shifted completely. What had started as mockery and tension slowly gave way to respect and understanding. Employees who had laughed at her earlier now realized that humility, patience, and intelligence mattered far more than arrogance or status. The manager who had been first to mock her approached cautiously, offering a sincere apology. She accepted it with a calm nod, showing that while mistakes have consequences, growth is possible. The CEO entered the room, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "I couldn't have asked for a better partner," he said, and the employees saw the full depth of their collaboration both in business and in life. Even the intern, who had observed everything in awe, felt inspired, realizing that kindness, quiet diligence, and courage could make a lasting impact. The senior executive announced the new project officially, and everyone understood that the company's future was about teamwork, respect, and recognizing hidden potential. The once dismissed woman had not only reshaped the office dynamics, but also inspired a new culture of accountability and empowerment. As she quietly returned to her work, a soft smile crossed her face. Those who doubted her learned an unforgettable lesson: never underestimate someone who appears simple, because strength and wisdom often come in the most unexpected